Hey everybody, As It Works here with another video, and today I'm going to be reading another one of my Red Bat stories. But before I get into that, I'd like to show some of the new characters I added to the universe, and some of them I already showed in a previous video, but I'm going to show them again, just in case some of you haven't seen that one yet. Got Hummus Man and his sidekick Guacamole, and a little bit of a backstory on the whole idea of Hummus Man. Me and my Uncle Hack, or Haskell, was talking about different characters and stuff, and he came up with the idea of Hummus Man, funnily enough, while eating some chips and hummus or something like that. So I took some time a while ago to actually finally come up with a design for him, and then the alter egos of the characters. Ernie Samson, taking elements of my grandparents, my grandfather on my dad's side, and my grandfather on my mom's side. Ernie being my grandfather on my dad's side's name, and the Sam from my grandfather on my mom's side. And then for Guacamole, just kind of put some random names together and came up with Ava Garcia. And then these two are ones that I added after looking around my room trying to find some other stuff. Didn't find what I was looking for originally, but it'll turn up. Anyway, got something I made in art class one time. Carl the Christmas Llama. And then I believe another art project. Jay the Monkey. Gotta find ways to incorporate those characters into some stories. And then in terms of Hummus Man, my uncle and I are collaborating on something for that. I did some of the artwork, and he's writing a story. So as soon as there's anything more regarding that, I'll let everybody know. So anyway, let's get into the story this time, shall we? This was one that I wrote while I was in school. It was originally supposed to be a short story, but it became not so much anymore after I was done with it. And the title of it is Red Bat Not So Short Story Out of That End, after the fact, trying to balance his life as a superhero with his real life, by Isaac Brooks. On a bright and sunny day in Maine, a group of thugs were trying to rob a Walmart, but didn't get far into doing that because of the world's newest superhero. Well, not so much new as much has been in the hero game for a few months by this point, and still makes mistakes. Red Bat showing up to stop them. When they saw him, they slowed down a little, and one of the thugs said, "Oh shoot, it's that new hero guy the boss told us about." Red Bat replied to that by saying, "So, you heard of me, huh? Good things, I hope. Who exactly told you about me, and what did he or she say?" One of the thugs answered by remarking, "We can't tell you that. He'll have us terminated if we spill the beans to anyone, including you." "Fine," said Red Bat. "Keep your secrets. I might just have to beat it out of one of you." The bad guys started to attack him, but because of his martial art training from his instructor Yoshi Miyamoto, and the gadgets his younger and genius level intellect brother, Tom, made for him, he was able to take out the thugs without much of a problem. After the battle, Red Bat took one of the thugs to try to get answers out of him before the police came to round him up. Let me ask this one last time. Who sent you to do this? Asked Red Bat in his best interrogation voice. Danielson! Jack Danielson! He wanted us to try to rob this place and try to get rid of you in the process. The thug said out of fear for his life. Red Bat put him back with the others to wait for the police to show up. When they showed up, Commissioner Bob Wilson and Detective Ron Silver talked to Red Bat to see what he knows about the motives of the bad guys and who sent them out. Jack Danielson sent them to try to rob the Walmart and get rid of me. Red Bat said. Sounds about right, said Bob. And he made bail 2 weeks ago. Then Ron chimed in. So, are we gonna go over to Danielson's place and question him? You and the commissioner can go ahead and do that. I have some other things I need to attend to, answered Red Bat with a tiny smile under his mask. So, he went to find his van, which he had in stealth mode, parked behind the store. Turned stealth mode off and headed off to his parents' house, which is where he currently lives, at the point of this story anyway. When he got into the garage, took his super suit off, and put his normal everyday clothes on, which he had in the compartment in his van. Then he went into the kitchen dining room area to talk to his mom, Lillian, who was making a meal for the family at the time. Hey, Mom, said Duke, Red Bat's alter ego. So you got an idea about his written here. Oh, hi, sweetie, replied his mother. How'd today go with the crime fighting? His family and his friends know. Nobody else. Well, except me, the writer, and now you. And I have here the reader and or listener. I added that part just a little bit ago. Alright, I guess. The thugs didn't give me much of an issue, and I found out from one of them that Danielson sent them not just to rob the Walmart, but try to get rid of me. But obviously, they failed, because I'm still here. Answered Duke. Oh, that rich a-hole, said Lillian. Did you notify the police when they came to get the criminals? Duke nodded and said, Yep. I did. And they said they'd go and ask him some questions. That's good, replied his mom. Did you see your brother in his lab yet? Not yet. Wanted to head here first and take care of my stuff, answered Duke. But I will. Then the front door opened, and Duke's dad, Nathan, came in and set his work stuff down. Hey, babe, said Lillian. How was it on the job site today? Not too bad. We got some more work done on that building we've been working on. And I heard on the radio that Red Bat stopped a group of baddies trying to stop the Walmart. Good job, son, said Nathan. Thanks, Dad, said Duke. His mother then added, he also got some information out of one of them and found out who sent them to do the job. His dad nodded in approval and asked, Oh yeah? Who was it, Duke? Jack Danielson, answered Duke with a look of both proudness and fear. His dad then went to get a drink from the fridge and sat down in his chair, then said, "Danielson, huh? Sounds about right. He's the first and top guy who was trying to take you and your little group of allies down." After a few minutes of silence, Duke said, "Well, I'm going to go visit Tom at the lab and give him a ride back home for dinner. Love you, Mom. Love you, Dad." "We love you too, Duke," said his mom, heading back into the kitchen to finish cooking. On his way to get into his car to get his brother, he got a call from Erica Jones, his girlfriend, and answered it. "Hey, sweetheart, what's up?" he asked. Erica replied by saying, "I heard about the robbery, and I was worried about you." Duke smiled and said, "I'm not that badly hurt, if not at all. I mean, if I was, Mom would be trying to baby me right now." Erica laughed and said, "Sounds about right. Glad you're okay, honey. And I guess you're on your way to visit Tom at his lab, correct?" "Yes, I am," said Duke. "Why? You want me to stop by to get you so you can see his lab and have dinner at the house?" Erica replied by saying, "If it's no trouble." Duke chuckled and said, "It won't be a problem at all. I'll be there to get you soon." "Okay, see you then," Erica said. "I love you." "Love you too," said Duke. Then he started on his way. When he got close to Erica's, he got a call from his brother Tom. Duke picked up the phone and answered it. "Hey, little bro. We're going to stop at Erica's so she can see your lab and have dinner with the family, so be there soon." Tom replied by saying, "All right. By the way, how did the inventions work out?" "Very well, I hope." Duke sighed and laughed, then said, "It worked like a dream. Not a single problem with any of them." "Oh, excellent. Thanks. So Erica's coming with you, huh? Cool. Makes for another person I can show him what work off to," said Tom with a laughing sigh. Then Duke got out of his car to see if Eric was ready to go and finished the conversation with Tom before getting to the door and knocked. After he heard her say with a bit of a sob, "Come in," so he opened the door and saw that she was ready, but had been crying. "Hey, what's wrong?" he asked. Erica, trying to come up with the words, said, "My parents just split up." After hearing that, Duke sat down next to her to try to comfort her. Still in her sobbing state, she told him what she was told. "Apparently, my dad was spending too much time away from home, and Mom started feeling lonely and cheated on him with one of his closest friends." Then Duke said, "I'm very sorry to hear that." "I could only imagine what you're going through right now." Erica added, "And the worst part is his friend was dumb enough to tell him what happened, even went as far as say that they both enjoyed it." Duke's eyes got so huge at this point that if this was one of those Hanna-Barbera cartoons, they'd almost be out of his head. After that, he asked, "What did your dad end up doing?" Erica reached over for a tissue and said, "He confronted both of them in anger, told them off, and ran off to live somewhere else." After a few minutes, Duke said, "Well, hopefully a trip to my brother's lab and eating some good food Hopefully a trip to my brother's lab and eating some good food at my parents' house will do some good. I sure hope so, she replied. So, they started on their way to Tom's lab and gave him a ride home. When they got there, Duke saw he had 2 missed calls from the commissioner. Told Erica to go ahead of him so he could check his messages. We went over to Danielson's office to ask him about what transpired today, the commissioner claimed in the voicemail. He denied half of what he got from the thugs, and what we got from them as well was true. The rest of it was the basic officer to hero talk stuff that we see in movies, TV shows, and things like that. So, after he listened to the messages, he caught up with Tom and Erica. Tom was just getting started talking about his latest creation, which was a machine that could travel through time and other dimensions. Does that actually work? Erica asked with a puzzled look on her face. Not fully sure. It's still in the testing stage right now, said Tom. Tom, Duke said, just gotta ask. What gave you the idea to build this in the first place? Tom gave them the most serious look he could ever give and said, I've been watching too much Back to the Future and Rick and Morty. And probably been reading too many comic books. Duke and Erica said at the same time and just kind of gave each other a lovingly grin afterward. Okay, first of all, get a room. And secondly, yeah, that's true too, said Tom with a sigh. This thing took me about a day or 2.5, not only to design, but actually make. It shows, little bro. Proud of ya. Mom and Dad will be too when you tell them, said Duke. At this point, Tom noticed Erica was looking at the floor and asked Duke, what's wrong with her? Her parents split up, replied Duke. Oh, that stinks. Sorry to hear about that, Erica, said Tom. Thanks, said Erica, trying to fight back tears. I sure hope I'll get over the whole crap show soon. After that, Duke checked the time and said, we should head home now if we don't want to deal with Livid Lillian, as Dad calls it. Tom laughed and replied by saying, okay, I just need to sign out and take care of my equipment, then we can get going. So, Tom did what he said he was going to do faster than Duke and Erica can say one of Tom's fancy science words. The three got into Duke's car and headed off to his and Tom's parents' house. As soon as they got there, Duke and Tom's mother greeted them at the door. She told them, I was starting to wonder if you guys took a wrong turn or something. She noticed Erica trying to put on a happy face and asked, is everything okay with you, dear? Not really. My parents went through a pretty rough split earlier, Erica replied. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully some beans and franks, and I have them quote in those little little half circle things. Franks meaning hot dogs. Will help cheer you up. Later on during dinner, Nathan said, Lil told me about what happened. I'm deeply sorry. I really thought they'd work it out. He says that because he went to school with her father. Just then, Duke's phone rang. It was one of his best friends, Luke Smith. Hey, Duke, he said. I could use a little help moving my tool shed. A bunch of wild animals tried to run off with some of my really expensive stuff. Okay, man, I'll be there ASAP, said Duke. Well, you gotta go help Luke with moving his tool shed. Be back soon. Love y'all. Love you too, Duke, said everyone in unison. So Duke headed off to help Luke, and Tom started to tell Lillian and Nathan about his invention. Duke heard part of the conversation before heading out to start his car. When he got to Luke's, he was in the backyard trying to shoo off some critters with a beach towel and a drink on the table. He was saying stuff like, "Get out of here, go home, and if you know what's best for you, leave right now." Duke was trying so hard not to laugh, but let a few chuckles out because he couldn't help himself. Luke turned around and said, "Oh, hey, bud. Heard that Redback made the news today." Duke stood there, smiled, and said, "Yep. Stopped a group of thugs, and they didn't give me much of an issue." Luke walked forward and said, "Nice. I've always wanted to experience something like that from the superhero perspective. Any chance I could be your sidekick?" "Maybe," said Duke, "although I think Tom would take issue to that." "Yep," replied Luke, "but I picture him more as the guy in the chair, help from behind the scenes type of guy, and Erica as the damsel in distress character." Duke laughed, Duke laughed and said, "Yeah, but if she heard any one of us say something like that, she'd kick one or both of us in the nuts without giving a second thought." Duke laughed and started to get to moving the tool shed and kept talking. After a while, Luke asked, "So, how is Erica doing anyhow?" Duke slowly replied by saying, "Well, her parents split up." "Oh, man, that sucks. Tell her my thoughts and prayers are with her." That was Luke talking. "I will," Duke said. "And how's little Tommy doing? You build anything cool lately in that lab of his?" asked Luke, finishing off his drink. "He sure did," said Duke. "He designed and built a machine that goes through time and other dimensions." "That's really something, ain't it? Hey, remember that time he and your Uncle Tony tried to make one of our video games better?" said Luke with his voice getting higher. "How could I forget?" replied Duke. That moment took place when Duke, Luke, and Erica were in third or fourth grade. Tom was in first or second grade, and sometime before Tony died of lung cancer, which made Duke decide to be straight edge. Well, that and watching CM Punk in WWE. But that's a story for another time. It was a rainy Saturday morning, and Duke, Luke, and Erica were playing one of their favorite video games, Super Mario Bros. So, the point that Luke was talking about comes up after they failed on certain levels of the game and had to start over. Gamer pain. So, Tony saw this and told the three of them, "You know what? I could find a way to make it so when your character dies for a certain amount of times, you don't have to keep starting over and over again. You could just start from the place you messed up and have an infinite number of lives." Young Duke, Luke, and Erica cheered in excitement. So, Tony went to try to do just that, and wee little Tom asked, "What you doing, Uncle Tony?" Tony told him, I'm trying to figure out something for your brother or his friends. You want to help? Without skipping a beat, Tom said, Really? Sure. I'm good at that kind of stuff, even at my young age. He's a regular Jimmy Neutron and or Sheldon Cooper, a boy genius. Much like Tony, which is why Tom pursued science as his career. An example of this, aside from the whole video game thing, is when Tom was 2.5 years old and found out how to control the TV remote to have it on his favorite show. Nathan was a little mad at first, but remembered it's a mirror image of Tony, his older brother, from what he was told. Anywho, Tony and Tom managed to make it work, and everyone decided to try not to forget that day ever since, due to Tony dying 2 weeks later. So, as soon as they finished chatting, Duke said his goodbyes to Luke, and Luke asked, Want to take a drink for the road? No thanks, pal. I'm straight edge, remember? Replied Duke. But I'm sure Erica might, if Dad hasn't given her one already. Alright, Dookie. See you later, man, said Luke, who was almost asleep in his lawn chair. See ya, Duke remarked, as he started on his way back to his car. When he got home, he found his plate with saran wrap on it to heat it up. He also noticed his dad looking over some blueprints for a building his crew were working on. Nathan looked up and asked, Hey, kiddo. How'd moving stuff around with Luke go? Duke smiled and said, Went good. We got it so those dang critters stopped getting his tools, and also took a trip down memory lane. Nathan looked at him in interest and said, Really? What's the memory? But it's a good one. Yeah, it was, Duke said. It was the time when Tom and Uncle Tony fixed that Mario game for me, Luke, and Erica. Nathan had a happy/sad look on his face after that and replied by saying, That's a very good one. One we will all treasure until the day we die. Duke replied to that by saying, That's for sure, and asked, Where'd everyone else go? Mom went to bed, Tom is studying for a test for school, and Erica's on the couch watching TV to try to keep her mind off, answered Nathan with a sound of sureness in his voice. Cool. I'm gonna give her some company. Be a good boyfriend. Duke replied, to which Nathan nodded and said, Don't do anything crazy. Duke shook his head and grinned. When he entered the living room, Erica looked up at him and asked, Hey baby, how's Luke doing? Seems to be doing well, and he wanted me to tell you he's praying for you, Duke said as he sat down next to her. Aw, that's nice of him. He's a good friend. One of the best anyone can ask for. Added Duke as Erica leaned closer to him. He brought at the time Tom and Tony fixed our Mario game, Duke remarked. I'll always remember that day as long as I live, said Erica. Tom was so cute when he and Tony came out with the game and their proud victor faces on. Yeah, he was, said Duke with a sigh. Also, Luke talked interest in wanting to be my sidekick. Erica had a look of surprise on her face and said, That would be different. Although I don't almost think if you were to get a sidekick, it'd either be Tom or even me. Duke then said, "Yeah, try to tell him something like that." And he said something along the lines of, "Yeah, that would work, but I see Tom as more the guy in the chair." And the next thing he said, said to me, next thing he said, if you heard it, you heard it, you'd kick one or both of us in the nuts. I found it hard to keep my place. Sorry about that. To which he replied by saying, "Well, tell me in your words what he said, and I'll judge whether or not I'll do that." Duke then sighed, prepared himself for it, and said, "He said you'd be the one who got into danger the most." She kind of sat there thinking if she would kick them, and this is what she came up with. "It really depends on what mood I was in. If I was there today, I'd kick you once and Luke twice." Duke looked over at her worryingly and asked, "So, are you going to do that now for me saying what he said?" She laughed and said, "No. I'm too tired right now." Duke took a sigh of relief and said, no, took a sigh, scratched the relief part, and said, "That's a relief." "Yeah, but Luke ain't off of it as easy as you are. Next time we see him, he's gonna get what's what," claimed Erica, who put on an angered voice that got Duke laughing. That led to Erica saying, "Duke, it's not that funny," and started laughing along with him. After they managed to control their laughter, Duke's phone buzzed. He checked it and saw he had messages from Yoshi Miyamoto, Big John, Storm Changer, Robo Rob, Mark the Mechanic, George the Animal Changer, along with Super Bear, and Jim Erickson and his Robohorse Jurgen. The one from Yoshi was about him needing to finish some training. The one from John was about him accidentally leaving his bag there last time. Mark's was saying his motorcycle was ready. And the ones from the others was a reminder there's a team meeting tomorrow afternoon. Duke let out a sigh of frustration and claimed, "Well, I've got a busy day tomorrow." Showed the list to Erica, and she said, "Wow, I'd say so." "I'll try to keep you and everyone else posted," Duke remarked, as he got off the couch. "Better try to get some sleep now, so I have more energy in the morning and that meeting with the team." So he said his goodnights and "I love yous" and headed off to bed. When morning came, he got everything he needed for the day packed up and ready to go. The first stop was Yoshi's dojo to get his set of training done. "I saw how you fought during the robbery, Dookie-san," said Master Yoshi. "I'm impressed." "Thanks, Master Yoshi," said Duke. Yoshi got into battle position and said, "But you still have a lot more to learn." Then Duke got into position as well. They gave each other whatever they had bowed afterwards. Duke shook Yoshi's hand and went on to the next thing on his to-do list, which is Big John's gym, to pick up his bag he left there. After he got there, and before grabbing his bag, he did a few sets of workouts. After getting his bag, he talked with John for a while, before going off to Mark's to get his motorcycle. When he got there, he asked Mark, "How much do I owe you?" Mark replied by saying, "It's on the house." "Thanks." Duke said, "Not a problem." Mark shouted as he went back to work on something else in the shop. The last stop was an old building that Red Bat and Company used for their basic operations. Duke showed up there in full Red Bat gear and sat down at the table to get ready for the meeting with the team. Robo Rob was the one to start it by saying, "Glad everyone made it." So, the reason I called for this meeting is to let everyone know that Jack Danielson is indeed out of prison and is planning to take us out one by one. Then Stormchanger chimed in. He sent out random sets of thugs to try and do two things. The first being robbing a store, and the second try to prevent us from stopping them at the same time. But, much like most of his plans, this one failed, because of us going to select locations to prevent anything bad from happening. George put in his thoughts on the subject by remarking, "All of us beat the groups of thugs we as a team picked among ourselves." Super Bear made bear sounds in agreement. Jim Erickson, who was leaning against the wall, asked, "So, what are we going to do? Go over to Danielson's office for a confrontation?" "That is exactly what we're going to do," replied Robo Rob. Red Bat broke his silence by asking, "If that truly is the plan, how are we going to get in without him or his guards noticing?" "That's a great question," replied Stormchanger. "We're going to have someone hack into Jack's system to turn off the security cameras, then we'll sneak right into his office and have a little chat with him, which may or may not lead to a battle." Everyone seemed to like that plan, and as luck would have it, nothing went wrong. Rob was able to turn off the cameras, which gave the others the opening they needed. While the heroes were finding their way into Jack's office, Jack, his assistant Lucy, and his butler Basil were discussing some business and taking over the world stuff. "I think it would be beneficial to do a redesign and rebuild of the whole building," claimed Jack, sitting behind his big desk. "Who'd you have in mind to do the work, Cashley Builders?" asked Lucy with a chuckle. "They have done some good stuff, sir," added Basil. Jack leaned back in his chair and replied by saying, "No. I'm going to get some others. I got some others in mind. I'm going to get some others with more experience than them." Kind of over the place with that one. My bad. It was at that point the team of heroes entered the room. "First off," Red Bat said, don't trash on Cashley Builders. The writer of the story would hunt you down. And second, don't try what you did last time again. We all know what happened. Everyone had that, "Okay, what is he talking about?" face in regards to Red Bat's breaking of the fourth wall. So, after that, everyone went on their own ways for the rest of the day. Duke took himself, Erica, Luke, and Tom to the comic shop. Phil, the owner, greeted them on their way in. The little group got the comics they wanted, and Duke told his group, "Don't worry about paying for any of your comics, I'll do that." "Really, man?" asked Luke. "That won't be a problem for you?" Duke shook his head. "Thanks, babe," said Erica. "That's very nice of you, big brother," remarked Tom. Phil responded to all this and said, "You know, guys, since you are my top customers, I'll give you the comic books on the house." The group looked at each other and Phil with gladness and surprise, and Duke said, "Thanks, Phil. That's very nice of you." "Not a problem," replied Phil as he bowed to the comics. "You know," Luke said, "you have a strong resemblance to CM Punk." "I get told that all the time, but I'm not him." "Met him a few times and got photos and autographs. Let me tell you, when I look at the photos, I can see why." Everyone chuckled for a while before getting back to their business. The group of friends went back to Duke and Tom's parents' house to enjoy their free comic books, thanks to Phil's generosity. The end. Oh, P.S. Luke did get kicked in the nuts twice for his comments, but Duke didn't at all. Alright, now that's the end of the story. Alright, so that's another story in the books. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment if you have any. And I plan on doing some more videos like this, reading some of my other stories at some point. Not really sure when, but I do plan to do that. Anyway, with that being said, until next time, Asbrick signing off. Bye.